The night market of Carthus 9 was full of noise, smoke, and cold light. Strange voices rose from every side. Metal carts moved over broken roads. Hungry faces watched every food stall like wild animals watching prey. Among them stood two sisters. They were small, thin, and weak. Their skin had lost its soft blue shine. Their clothes were old and torn. The younger sister could barely stand. Her knees shook with every breath. Her eyes were half closed from hunger. The older sister held her close. She tried to keep her sister warm, but her own hands were shaking too. They had not eaten real food in 3 days. Only dirty water and one stolen fruit peel had kept them alive. The younger sister looked up at her with dry, tired eyes. "Lyra, I am not hungry anymore," she whispered. That lie broke Lyra's heart. She knew what that meant. When a body was starving too long, hunger became quiet. And after that, death came fast. Lyra looked around the market again. Every stall had food: hot meat, grain cakes, soup, sweet roots. But food needed credits, and she had none. She had sold everything already: their tools, their blankets, even the silver chain their mother gave her before she died. There was nothing left. Nothing, except herself. Lyra closed her eyes for 1 second. Then she made her choice. At the edge of the street, a human stood alone near a food stall. He wore a dark travel coat, no armor, no badge, no gang mark, just a quiet face and tired eyes. He looked like a simple traveler, but people kept their distance from him. Lyra slowly walked toward him. Her sister tried to call her back, but she was too weak. Lyra stopped in front of the human and lowered her head. "My sister is starving," she said softly. "I have nothing to trade, but you can take me. Just please feed her." For a moment, the market noise seemed to die. The human did not move. Lyra's heart pounded hard. Shame burned inside her, but she did not step back. She was ready to lose everything if her sister could live. Then the human looked past her. He saw the younger sister shaking in the cold. When he spoke, his voice was calm. "No one is taking anyone." Lyra looked up in surprise. The human stepped toward the food stall and placed a credit chip on the counter. "2 full meals," he said. "And hot water." The stall owner froze. The sisters froze too. Then the human turned back to them, his eyes unreadable. "Both of you eat," he said. And all around them, the market began to watch. The market did not sound the same anymore. Just 1 moment ago it was full of shouting, selling, and cruel laughter. But now a strange silence moved through the street like cold wind. People were still talking, but softly. They were watching the 2 sisters, watching the human. No one in Carthus 9 gave food for free. That was why everyone stared. Lyra stood frozen. She could still hear the human's words inside her head. "Both of you eat." For a second she thought she had heard him wrong. Kindness like that did not belong in a place like this. Not here. Not in the hunger streets. The stall owner slowly filled 2 metal bowls with hot soup. Steam rose into the night air. Then he added thick bread, soft center roots, and clean water. The smell alone was painful. The younger sister, Sira, nearly fell as she came closer. Her eyes locked on the food, but fear still lived inside them. On this planet, food often came with chains. A gift could become a trap in 1 second. Lyra quickly stepped in front of her. "What do you want from us?" she asked the human. He did not answer at once. Instead, he picked up 1 bowl and knelt in front of Sira. His movements were slow, careful, almost like he was speaking without words. He held the bowl out but did not force it into her hands. "It gets cold fast," he said. That was all. Sira looked at Lyra. Lyra gave a small nod. The little sister took the bowl with trembling hands. She drank 1 small sip, then another. Then she broke. Tears filled her eyes as she drank faster, like her body no longer remembered pride, fear, or shame. It only remembered survival. Lyra took the second bowl, but she did not eat yet. She could not stop staring at the human. He looked normal. Too normal. No rich clothes, No weapons showing, no guards near him. But the crowd stayed away from him like he carried some invisible power. Then Lyra noticed something strange. The stall owner, a cruel male known for beating hungry children away with a metal rod, would not meet the human's eyes. He looked afraid. That fear made Lyra's stomach turn. "Who are you?" she asked again. The human gave a faint smile, but it held no warmth. It looked more like an old memory. "Just a traveler," he said. But before Lyra could speak again, 3 rough men stepped out from the crowd. They were local dead hunters, and all 3 were staring at the sisters. One of them smiled. "Well," he said, "looks like someone finally paid for our missing property." The smile on the dead hunter's face was worse than a knife. It was slow, dirty, and full of hunger. Lyra's hands tightened around the food bowl. She moved 1 step closer to Sira without thinking. Her body was weak, but her mind was clear. These men were not here for credits. They were here for something easier to own. The tallest dead hunter pointed at the sisters. "They belong to the lower street record," he said. "Unpaid shelter debt, unpaid water debt, unpaid market damage. We've been looking for them all week." It was a lie. Lyra knew it. Everyone in the hunger streets created fake debt when they wanted to trap the weak. Once a name entered that record, no one asked questions, no one cared. Sira pulled at Lyra's arm, scared and silent. Lyra lifted her chin. "We owe nothing." The second man laughed. "You owe because we say you owe." The crowd stayed back. Some people looked away. Some watched with cold interest. Others looked sorry, but no one moved. Karthus 9 had taught them a cruel rule. If trouble came for someone else, stay still and live one more day. The human still stood beside the stall. Calm, silent, too calm. The tallest dead hunter finally looked at him. "You paid for them. That means you touched our claim. Walk away now, human, and we may forget it." The human did not move. Sira kept eating in small, desperate bites, but now her hands shook so badly that soup spilled down her fingers. Lyra whispered, "Sira, behind me." The little sister obeyed at once. The dead hunter stepped forward. "Last warning." The human slowly turned his head and looked at the man. That single look changed the air. It was not anger. It was not fear. It was something colder, something heavy, as if a sleeping machine had opened its eyes. Then he spoke. "They are not property." The words were simple, but the market went silent again. The third dead hunter reached under his coat and pulled out a shock rod. Blue light cracked across its metal edge. Bad move. Lyra saw it in the stall owner's face first. Pure fear. Not fear of the rod, fear of what the human would do next. The rod came down fast toward the human's shoulder. But it never landed. In one sudden move, the human caught the attacker's wrist in mid-air. No struggle, no noise. Just one clean stop. The dead hunter's smile vanished. His eyes widened. The human's grip tightened slightly. Then came a dry crack. The man screamed. And for the first time that night, everyone in the market understood the truth. The stranger had not saved the sisters because he was weak. He had saved them because he was dangerous. The scream cut through the market like broken metal. The dead hunter dropped to his knees, holding his twisted wrist. His shock rod fell and rolled across the ground, still flashing blue light. No one moved to help him. No one even breathed too loud. The human let go and stepped back once. That was the strange part. He did not look proud. He did not look angry. He looked calm, like breaking a man's wrist was smaller than opening a door. Lyra felt cold inside. Sira hid behind her, clutching the empty bowl with both hands. The other 2 dead hunters stared at their friend in shock. A moment ago they had walked in like kings of the street. Now they looked like men who had kicked the wrong machine. The tallest one tried to keep his voice hard. "You think one broken arm changes anything?" he said. The human looked at him. "Wrist." The man blinked. The human continued. "Not arm." For one strange second, the market almost forgot to be afraid. Then the tallest hunter growled and pulled out a pulse pistol from under his coat. Gasps rose from the crowd. Weapons were not rare in Carthys 9, but using one in the market was different. It could bring patrol drones. It could start a street war. Even the cruel stall owner stepped back so fast he hit his own cart. Lyra's heart nearly stopped. "Sira, down!" she shouted. She pulled her sister low behind a broken crate. The hunter aimed at the human's chest. His hand was shaking, but not from fear alone. It was rage, too. Rage that someone had made him look weak in front of everyone. "You should have walked away," he said. The human gave a small sigh. Then he moved. Lyra did not fully see it. 1 second he was standing still. The next second he was inside the hunter's reach. A loud crack hit the air. The pistol fired, but the shot went into the sky. Bird-like scrap drones burst upward from the rooftops. The human's hand locked on the weapon. His other hand struck once, fast and sharp, into the hunter's chest. The man flew backward into a stack of crates. Wood and metal exploded across the street. The crowd screamed and scattered. The third dead hunter turned and ran without looking back. The pulse pistol now rested in the human's hand. He looked down at it for 1 second, then crushed part of it under his boot like it was cheap plastic. Silence returned. Lyra slowly stood, unable to believe what she had seen. No normal traveler moved like that. No simple man crushed armed hunters without effort. Then red lights appeared above the market, patrol drones, and one by one they began scanning the human's face. The red patrol lights painted the market in blood-colored lines. Small drones dropped from the dark sky, their metal bodies humming like angry insects. One by one, they stopped above the broken street. Their scanner beams moved across crates, food stalls, frightened faces, and finally the human. No one spoke. Even the wounded dead hunter forgot his pain for a moment. Lyra held Sira close and watched in silence. Her heart was beating fast again, but not for the same reason as before. This fear was different, colder, bigger. It felt like the whole street was standing near something hidden for too long. The human did not run. He did not hide. He simply stood there with the broken pulse pistol at his feet, his coat moving softly in the night wind. A drone lowered itself until its red eye was only inches from his face. It scanned once, then again. The market held its breath. Suddenly, the drone's red light changed to white. A sharp signal rang through the air. Then a cold machine voice spoke for all to hear. Identity confirmed. Human citizen class, Terran military reserve, status, protected, priority clearance recognized. The words struck the market harder than a gunshot. People stepped back at once. Someone dropped a bowl. Someone whispered, "Terran." That one word spread like fire. Not just human. Terran. Lyra did not fully understand military ranks, codes, or reserve law, but she knew stories. Everyone on Carthys 9 knew them. Stories about Earthborn humans. Stories about soldiers who crossed dead moons, broken planets, and war zones like they were walking through rain. Some stories were lies. Some were too terrible to be lies. And now one of them was standing in front of her. The tallest dead hunter, half buried in broken crates, suddenly looked less like a street boss and more like a trapped animal. I didn't know," he stammered. The drone turned toward him. Illegal armed aggression recorded. Debt claim not found in city registry. Fraud marker added. The crowd gasped again. Lyra's eyes widened. So she had been right. There had never been any real debt. The scanner beam moved to the injured hunter on the ground, then to the one who had tried to run. Somewhere in the distance, heavy engine sounds began to grow louder. Security transport. The human finally looked at Lyra. His face was still calm, but now she saw something else in it. Not pride, not cruelty. Tiredness. A deep, quiet tiredness. Then Sira, still weak, stepped out from behind her sister and looked up at him. In a tiny voice, she asked, "Are you a war human?" For the first time, the human's expression changed, and what appeared on his face was not anger. It was pain. The little girl's question stayed in the air. "Are you a war human?" The market was silent again. Even the patrol drones seemed quieter now, floating above the street like waiting eyes. The human looked at Sira. For the first time, Lyra saw something break through his calm face. It was not anger, it was not shame. It was something heavier, something old. Pain. He slowly knelt so he would not look so tall in front of the child. "Yes," he said at last. "I was." Sierra held Lyra's hand tighter. "Did you fight monsters?" A few people in the market gave nervous laughs, but they died fast. The human did not smile. "Sometimes," he said, "but most monsters look like people." Lyra felt a chill run through her body. He said those words in a flat voice like he had said them to himself many times before. The patrol drones moved aside as two black security transports entered the street. Armed officers jumped out and rushed toward the fallen debt hunters. The men who had ruled this part of the market only minutes ago now looked helpless. One cried, one begged, one tried to lie again. The drones recorded everything, but Lyra barely looked at them. Her eyes stayed on the human. He looked like a man standing in this market, but now she understood the truth. Part of him was still somewhere else, somewhere far away, somewhere full of fire. "What war?" Lyra asked quietly. The human was silent for a moment. Then he stood again and looked at the night sky above Karthus 9. "There were 7 colony moons around Talaron Gate," he said. "By the end, 6 were burning." No one moved. No one even tried to speak. His voice remained calm, but the words were heavy. "We were sent to bring civilians out, families, workers, children." He paused. "The ships came late." Lyra saw his hand close into a fist, not in anger, in memory. "We found people hiding without food," he continued. "Sick parents giving their share to children, sisters trying to keep each other alive." His eyes lowered to Sierra, and then to Lyra. "I saw that before." Now Lyra understood why he had stopped, why he had paid, why he had fought. This was not pity. This was a wound that had never healed. One officer walked up to the human and offered a formal salute. "Sir, the area is secure. Do you want these 2 placed under protection review?" The human looked at the sisters. Lyra's breath caught. She had seen enough of this world to know one truth. Sometimes rescue was only the start of a new kind of danger. Then the human answered. "Yes," he said, "but under my watch." The market stayed silent after the human spoke. "Yes, but under my watch." Those 4 words changed everything. The officers did not argue. The patrol drones did not question him. Even the people in the market looked at the sisters in a different way now. A few minutes ago, Lyra and Sierra were nothing in their eyes. Just 2 hungry girls from the lower streets. Easy to ignore, easy to steal, easy to forget, but not anymore. The human stepped closer to the sisters. "My name is Elias," he said. "You will not be left here tonight." Lyra wanted to believe him. That was the problem. Hope was dangerous on Karthus 9. It made people weak. It made them trust. And trust often ended in chains. Still, when she looked into his face, she did not see the cold power from before. She did not see the warrior who broke armed men like dry wood. She saw a tired man trying very hard not to fail again. Sierra looked up at him with sleepy eyes. Her small body was still weak, but now there was warmth in her face. Color was slowly returning to her skin. "Will there be food?" she asked. For the first time, Elias smiled like it did not hurt. "Yes," he said. "A lot of food." Sierra gave a tiny nod, as if this was enough reason to trust all of humanity. That almost broke Lyra. An officer brought 2 heat blankets and wrapped them around the sisters. Another carried clean water packs from the transport. No one touched them roughly. No one shouted. No one called them property. Lyra was not used to that. As the black transport doors opened, the crowd slowly moved aside. Some watched in silence. Some with shame. Some with wonder. The cruel stall owner lowered his head and would not look at the sisters at all. Lyra helped Sierra step toward the transport, but before climbing inside, she stopped and turned back to Elias. "Why?" she asked. "Why did you help us?" Elias looked at her for a long moment. Then he answered in the simplest way possible. Because someone should have helped the people I lost. Lyra felt those words deep inside her chest. Not like a story. Not like a promise. Like truth. She looked at him differently after that. Not as a warrior. Not as a Terran. Not as something feared by the whole market. But as a human. And maybe that was the reason humans were so dangerous. Not because they could fight. Not because they could win wars. But because even after seeing the worst things in the stars, some of them still chose kindness. And in a broken place like Karthus 9, that kindness felt more powerful than fear.